Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum, second year. This is Dr. Naza here. In the previous lecture, we discussed general organization of the gastrointestinal tract, which is related with the food ingestion, mastication, chewing, ingestion, and digestion, absorption, and finally excretion. And general organization of gastrointestinal tract mainly is based on 4 layers, which include mucosa, submucosa, muscularis propria, and serosa or adventitia. Mucosa basically includes epithelium. Just beneath the epithelium is lamina propria, which is a connective tissue layer, and it also contains different defense cells like plasma cells, lymphocytes, and a few glands maybe in some areas. Muscularis mucosae is a small layer of 2 to 3 cells of smooth muscles in the just beneath the lamina propria, and this is for local movement of mucosa. A submucosa contains gland which produce mainly in areas mucus, and it contains nerve plexus, which is Meissner's nerve plexus or submucosal nerve plexus. Muscularis propria is a larger layer or proper layer of smooth muscles, and it is arranged in circular and longitudinal forms, and this is basically responsible for the movement of the gastrointestinal tract. In between these 2 layers, that is inner circular and outer longitudinal muscle layer, a nerve plexus is present, and this nerve plexus is called myenteric nerve plexus. These are autonomic nerve plexuses and contain pre and post synaptic fibers and are responsible for motility of the gastrointestinal tract. A fourth or final layer or outer layer is serosa or adventitia. Serosa is basically simple squamous epithelium or mesothelial lining, and it is present wherever the gastrointestinal tract or parts of gastrointestinal tract are suspended and by mesenteries, or it also becomes continuous with the peritoneum. Adventitia, where tubes of gastrointestinal tract are not suspended, rather they are in contact with other organs directly or wall directly. It is lined by connective tissue layers, and this connective tissue layer is called adventitia, and it does not have lining of the simple squamous or mesothelial lining in it. So this is just a general organization of gastrointestinal tract, which you must understand before going into details of the digestive tract. So today we will first of discuss histology of lip. Histology of lip. Lip has 3 parts basically: upper lip and lower lip, and these are the margins of the lip which separated from the from the other part of the skin or the part of the face, and in between these borders or part of the lip, the central area is of the upper lip and lower lip is called vermilion zone, and on the outer side or this philtrum part or edges are lined by stratified squamous keratinized epithelium, and this stratified squamous keratinized epithelium, which is heavily keratinized, ends up here, and the vermilion zone is lined by stratified squamous lightly keratinized epithelium, as well as it has abundant blood vessels, and this is the presence of these blood vessels which gives the lips pink appearance, and the inner side of the lip or the mucosal side of the lip is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. The lips do not have any glands. Rather, the minor salivary glands or the glands present in the oral cavity, they produce secretions, and the lips are moistened by the tip of the tongue by saliva, and these basically do not have any hair follicles. The vermilion zone does not have any hair follicles or glands present in it. It is just skeletal muscle which is present into the lips and abundant blood vessels in the lamina propria, which help or give the lip a pink color. So here you can see this is a low magnification micrograph of a lip section, showing on one side it is lined by oral mucosa, and the opposite side is covered by skin. This side is covered by skin, and the side covered by skin has basically these hair follicles, and smaller hairs are present on the upper side of the lips, and this is oral portion, and this oral portion is covered by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium. And this portion in between is the vermilion zone, and here you can also appreciate the layer of the muscle, and this is basically a layer of the muscle which gives it mobility or help in the movement of the lips. The skin of the lips is stratified squamous epithelium. Here you can see stratified squamous epithelium. The well-developed core of striated muscle in the lips is present, or it makes these structures highly mobile for ingestion, speech, and other forms of communication. So this is an extensive or a thick layer of the muscle which is present in between, and this is basically responsible for the movement of the lips. The mucosal side or inner side of the lips is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium, and the skin containing side of the lips is lined by the stratified squamous keratinized epithelium, and it also has hair follicles. And in between, this is the vermilion zone, which is pinkish in color, and it is not lined by, it is lined by stratified squamous lightly keratinized epithelium, but it does not contain any glands or hair follicles. So lips have three differently covered surfaces. Internal mucous surface. Internal mucous surface has lining mucosa with a thick non-keratinized epithelium and many minor labial salivary glands. But these salivary glands are part of the oral mucosa, and the vermilion zone of the lip does not have any mechanism for lubrication. So tip of the tongue is responsible for providing lubrication. The red vermilion zone of each lip, which is covered by very thin keratinized stratified squamous epithelium and is transitional between the oral mucosa and the skin. This region lacks salivary glands and sweat glands. This is rich in both sensory innervation and capillaries. Presence of these abundant capillaries impart the pink color to the lips. So here you can see a high magnification picture. This is the skin side of the lip, and this is the start of the vermilion zone. And on the skin side, you can appreciate this is keratin. This is stratified squamous epithelium, which is present on the entire surface. And here lies the hair follicles. These are hair follicles which are present, and some salivary glands are also present in this area, sebaceous glands. And this is the start of the vermilion zone. Here the epithelium changes, and you can see stratified squamous epithelium, which is very lightly keratinized. And this zone does not have any hair follicles, or if you see the lamina propria, there is no glands present into the vermilion zone. And once again, this is the skin side of the lips, and this area is the vermilion zone. And if you open up your lips, the inner side of the lips is the side which is covered by the oral mucosa. The outer surface has thin skin consisting of epidermal and dermal layers, sweat glands, many hair follicles, and sebaceous glands, obviously. These are images showing the sections of the lips. The skin on the external surface containing typical features of the skin, for example, hair follicles and sebaceous glands, merges into the non-keratinized stratified squamous epithelium of oral mucosa. On the internal surface, note that the oral epithelium is thicker. Locate the small salivary glands in the submucosa of the lip and the skeletal muscle. So I think you are able enough. If you see this picture, you can very clearly identify the cutaneous side as well as the oral side. So this is cutaneous side, and these are hair follicles. This is one hair follicle. This is another hair follicle. These are two other hair follicles present. And this is stratified squamous keratinized epithelium. And this zone is the oral surface, which is lined by stratified squamous non-keratinized epithelium and salivary glands. And this zone is the vermilion zone. Now the histology of tongue. Tongue basically is divided into two parts, or it has two surfaces: dorsal surface and upper surface, lower surface, or you can say dorsal surface and ventral surface. The tongue lies on the floor of the oral cavity. It is attached to the floor of oral cavity posteriorly. This is the side where it is attached to the floor of the oral cavity. It has a dorsal surface. This is the dorsal surface that is free, and a ventral surface that is free anteriorly, right? The lower surface, or the if you lift up your tongue, you will see an attachment on the lower side. The anterior part of the lower surface is only free, but the dorsal surface is entirely free. The dorsal and ventral surface becomes continuous at the lateral margins. Here at the lateral margins, the dorsal and ventral surface become continuous, and at the tip of the tongue, it is also continuous. These are different structures you can appreciate on this diagram, which are present on the surface of the tongue. This is the epiglottis towards the throat on the posterior side. This is palatopharyngeal arch. These are tonsils, palatine tonsils, and here this is the site of presence of lingual tonsils. This is the terminal sulcus here, which divides the tongue into anterior and posterior parts. Here are different papilla present. These are foliate papilla. We will discuss in detail, don't worry. Foliate papilla, vellate papilla. This is a medial sulcus, which is present in the median line. And fungiform papilla are present all on the entire surface, and filiform papilla. So the tongue is divided by this terminal sulcus into two parts: anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3. Posterior 1/3 contains the tonsils, and the anterior 2/3 on its entire surface has papilla. Papilla basically are extensions of mucosa, which is present on the surface of the tongue. And this is the terminal sulcus, or sulcus terminalis, which divides the tongue into two parts. The subregions of the tongue are based on its embryological regions: anterior 2/3, which is body of the tongue, and posterior 1/3, which is root, and these are separated by sulcus terminalis. Tongue is a mass of striated muscles. This is a unique feature of the tongue, that it is a mass of striated muscles, and these muscles are covered entirely by the mucosa. The muscles of the tongue are, or the bands of muscle of tongue are present in all directions, randomly in all directions, And this presence of striated muscles in multiple directions provides a huge range of mobility to the tongue. And these striated muscles are covered by the mucosa. Tongue basically manipulates ingested materials during mastication and help in swallowing. Muscle fibers are oriented in all directions. This is a unique feature of tongue, that the skeletal muscle or the muscle fibers or striated muscles which are present in the tongue are oriented in all directions. And this is the reason that the tongue has a range of mobility, and it has a high level of mobility in all directions. These muscle fascicles are separated by presence of connective tissue in between these bundles of the muscles. So connective tissue between the fascicles of muscle is penetrated by lamina propria, which makes the mucous membrane strongly adherent to the muscular core, as well as it provides mobility to the muscles. The lower surface of the tongue is smooth and it is lined by typical mucosa. Dorsal surface, all the features of the tongue histology are basically on the dorsal surface. If you protrude your tongue out of your mouth and see in the mirror, you can appreciate multiple features which are present with the naked eye on the dorsal surface of the tongue. The dorsal surface of the tongue is irregular and it has hundreds of small protrudings present on its surface. These small protrudings which are present, and you can see whitish appearance on the center of the tongue, are basically papilla. And these papilla are of various types and are present on the anterior two-third. And on the posterior, posterior one-third, lingual tonsils are present, and as well as few papilla. Papillary and tonsillar areas of the lingual surface are separated by a V-shaped groove called the sulcus terminalis. So we just briefly sum up the features of the tongue. Once again, it has the root, and it is attached by the root to the body, and it has a dorsal surface and a ventral surface. Dorsal surface is rough, and it has papilla, which are projections of the mucosa. These papilla differ in features and are present on the dorsal surface and the lateral surface. The ventral surface, which is lower, is not highly mobile, but it is attached, and the anterior part of the ventral surface is free, but the ventral surface is smooth and it does not have any kind of papilla or the taste buds on its surface, right? And the dorsal surface is divided by sulcus terminalis into two parts, posterior one-third and anterior two-thirds. So structure of the tongue or microscopically, mucosa, it has stratified squamous epithelium on both surfaces. The dorsal surface forms papilla, but you cannot say that stratified squamous, it is stratified squamous keratinized or non-keratinized. The inner surface or lower part or lower surface has stratified squamous non-keratinized, but the dorsal surface is partially keratinized or keratinized, right? Some mucosa has minor salivary glands that secrete both mucus and serous secretions, and these secretions have lipase enzyme in it, and this lipase enzyme prevents the formation of lipid layers on the taste buds. Muscles have unique features. Muscles of the skeletal, these are skeletal and striated muscles running in all directions. If you see here, you can appreciate these are the mucosa. Mucosa is thrown up into different folds, and these folds are basically papilla, which differ in different areas of the dorsal surface. And this is basically all foldings of the mucosa. And here you can see a bunch of glands or salivary glands which are present, and these are the muscle fibers which are present in different directions. There is not a single layer of arrangement of muscles. Muscles are directed in all directions, and these bundles of muscles are separated by connective tissue layers. and are also penetrated by the lamina propria. So it gives a range, strong range of mobility to the tongue. Different lingula are present, or lingual papilla are present on the surface of the tongue. The lingual papilla are elevations of mucous membrane. So any type of lingual papilla is what? It is just elevation of the mucous membrane that assume various forms and functions. There are four basic types of the papilla: filiform papilla, fungiform papilla, foliate papilla, valate or circumvallate papilla. Valate papilla are also called circumvallate papilla. So the lingual papilla are elevations of the mucous membrane that assume various forms and functions. There are four types: filiform, fungiform, foliate, and valate or circumvallate papilla. Filiform papilla are very numerous, and these papilla are pointed, are elevations of connective tissue covered by stratified squamous epithelium, have an elongated conical shape, and are heavily keratinized, which give their surface a gray or whitish appearance. They provide a rough surface that facilitate movement of food during chewing. Second year, you have to remember all the features of these papilla, because these papilla, all the four types, differ in their histology and their functions. So you have to remember, as well as you have to draw these papilla in because they have different features. So filiform papilla are the most numerous papilla on the dorsal surface. These are pointed in nature. They have a pointed shape, and their pointed edges have a layer of heavy keratinization, which give their surface a whitish appearance. If you see your tongue in the mirror, you can appreciate these pointed papilla, filiform papilla, and whitish appearance. So these are present in the numerous number on the dorsal surface. And basically, these are responsible for facilitation of movement of food during chewing, because they have a rough surface. This is the shape of filiform papilla. This is the projection of the papilla, and this is heavy keratinization. If you see the shape, these are pointed in nature, and on their tip they have a high or thick layer of the keratin which is present, and this is epithelium, which is stratified squamous epithelium. Here you can see on microscopy, these are filiform papilla. These are pointed filiform papilla, and on the tip of each papilla there is a keratin cap which is present, and this is showing a heavy keratinization on the entire surface, and this is stratified squamous epithelium. Below it is containing lamina propria and layer of the muscles. So here you can also appreciate it is very clear and very beautiful diagram. This is showing the tips of the filiform papilla, which are heavily keratinized, and showing a tip or conical shape. The second form of fungiform papilla are less numerous, and these are mushroom shaped. Filiform papilla were most numerous. Fungiform papilla are less numerous. So it means that on the dorsal surface, the majority of number of papilla are basically the filiform papilla. So fungiform papilla are much less numerous, and these are mushroom shaped. Filiform papilla were conical in shape, or they were heavily keratinized, but the fungiform papilla are lightly keratinized, and these are interspersed among the filiform papilla. So anterior 2/3 of the tongue basically contains filiform papilla, and in between these filiform or conical shaped papilla are present fungiform papilla. And they are mushroom shaped with well vascularized and innervated pores of lamina propria. What is the importance of these vascularization and innervation is because these fungiform papilla around them have taste buds, right? But these filiform papilla do not have any taste bud associated with them. Okay, so they have a few taste buds. Fungiform papilla less numerous, but they are highly vascularized and highly innervated, and these are having taste buds around them, and these are lightly keratinized. In contrast, filiform papilla were much numerous on the anterior two-thirds of the tongue and had keratin caps, a heavy loading of keratin on their surface, and were conical in shape and not that well vascularized or innervated, because filiform papilla do not have taste buds with them. Here you can see this is fungiform papilla. The fungiform papilla have a mushroom shape, and these are lightly keratinized. They do not have high layers of keratin. And in between, you can appreciate these presence of innervation, the nerves, and a lot of blood vessels are present because these contain taste buds. Fungiform papilla have taste buds along them, and these are present scattered on the surface of the tongue. These are not clustered in one point. These are scattered on the surface of the tongue. On light microscopy, you can see this is fungiform papilla. This is wedge-shaped or mushroom-shaped papilla. And from this point to this point, it has stratified squamous epithelium, which may be partially keratinized. And on the sides, this is taste bud. This area is basically the area of the taste buds, which shows like epidermis has dips down in the dermis. This area is containing taste buds. This is the area of the taste buds, and around the taste buds there are multiple minor salivary glands present, and the purpose of these salivary glands is that they produce secretions which are both serous and mucus, and these secretions keep on washing off these taste buds so that they do not make any lipid containing layer over the surface. For this purpose, the secretions of the glands have an enzyme which is lipase, which is hydrophobic, which lipase layer breaks down this hydrophobic layer of the lipid so that we can taste the things properly. So fungiform papilla are less numerous, less keratinized, wedge-shaped, well vascularized, and have innervation. And on the sides, they have taste buds, and salivary glands are also present alongside. Filiform papilla are cone-shaped, most numerous all over the tongue, no taste bud. This is just for the comparison. And fungiform or mushroom-shaped papilla are less numerous, present on the tip and sides of the tongue, has taste buds. And here you can appreciate the shapes. This is conical shaped filiform papilla. This is again conical shaped filiform papilla. Both are lined by stratified squamous epithelium. And but the tip of these conical shaped papilla have heavy keratin on its surface. This is the keratin layer which does not contain any nuclei. Here you can also appreciate this is a layer of the keratin which is not having any nuclei, and this does not have a quantity of keratin on its surface. This is connective tissue in between and the lamina propria, and this is the presence of the skeletal muscles which are present in different directions. In this section, you can see these are present in longitudinal direction while these are transverse. Another type is the foliate papilla. Foliate papilla basically contains or consists of several parallel ridges on each side of the tongue, anterior to the sulcus terminalis. Here you can see that this is the dorsal surface of the tongue. This is sulcus terminalis. This is anterior surface, and this is lateral surface. So if you see on the anterior part of the lateral surface, there are ridges which are present, the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. These ridges basically on the lateral surface are foliate papilla. So foliate papilla consist of several parallel ridges on each side of the tongue anterior to the sulcus terminalis. But these ridges and foliate papilla are marked in children, but these are rudimentary in humans, especially the older individuals. These foliate papilla are not present on the surface anterior 2/3 or posterior 1/3. These are present on the lateral surface in the form of ridges. These ridges are well developed in children, but with the age, these ridges are lost. And in the older individuals, we do not find any foliate papilla. And these are basically rudimentary in the humans. In the form of ridges, you can appreciate foliate papilla. These are foliate papilla, and similarly, these foliate papilla are covered by stratified squamous epithelium. And on the sides of these papilla, you can appreciate taste buds. These are the taste buds. This area is basically the taste bud, and along with each taste bud, there is always a groove, and this groove is for washing off of the taste buds. And multiple glands are present, and these glands have ducts which open in along the sides of these taste buds. And you can see bundles of striated muscles in this section, and several glands. And these bundles of skeletal muscle are separated by the presence of connective tissue. Fourth type is the ballet type. So second year we saw three types. First of all, filiform papilla, which were conical in shape, present in numerous quantity on the anterior 2/3 of the tongue, and heavily keratinized, and these were not containing any taste buds. Fungiform papilla, wedge-shaped papilla were present, which are scattered in between the filiform papilla, and they were well vascularized and innervated, and had taste buds along their side. Foliate papilla are present in the form of ridges, and these ridges are rudimentary or in the humans, but in the children these are well developed, and they contain taste buds. Fourth type is the vellate or circumvallate papilla. These are largest papilla and can be seen very easily with the naked eye, and they have a diameter of 1 to 3 millimeters only. So these are quite visible on naked eye because each of these papilla has 1 to 3 millimeter diameter, and these are the largest papilla. If you count the number of the papilla, these are 8 to 12 papilla and are aligned just in front of the terminal sulcus, terminal sulcus or sulcus terminalis. Ducts of several small serous salivary glands, which are exocrine glands, and they empty into the deep groove surrounding each vellate papilla. And these glands are also called von Ebner glands in the tongue. What is the significance of these von Ebner glands is that this provides a continuous flow of fluid over the taste buds that are abundant on the sides of these papilla. So please remember that the taste buds are maximum in number along the vellate or circumvallate papilla, though these are also present along the fungiform papilla. Filiform के साथ taste buds नहीं होते. Filiform are not associated with the taste buds. It is only vellate papilla which has a huge number or maximum quantity of each vellate papilla has around 200 to 250 taste buds surrounding on its surface, and they have a diameter of 1 to 3, but in their own they are only 8 to 12 in number. Ducts of several small serous proteinaceous secretions produce करते हैं. So several small serous salivary glands are present, which are called von Eppner glands, empty into the deep groove surrounding each valate papilla. This provides a continuous flow of fluid over the taste buds that are abundant on the sides of these papilla, washing away food particles so that the taste buds can receive and process new gustatory stimuli. Secretions from these and other minor salivary glands associated with taste buds contain a lipase enzyme that prevent the formation of hydrophobic film on these structures that would hinder gustation. So we are given multiple blessings, and this is just a huge blessing that these glands or these taste buds are continuously washed off by a natural process, and this lipase enzyme help to remove the layers which are forming by the lipids on these taste buds, and help in sense of the taste. So valate or circumvallate papilla, these are 8 to 12 papilla located just anterior to the sulcus terminalis, and large circular, these are circular in shape, and each is surrounded by a groove and has taste buds. So if you see microscopically, this is a valate papilla which has a larger diameter, and this is circular in shape. It is lined by stratified squamous epithelium, and this is the lamina propria. Here you can appreciate this is the deep groove which is present along the side of these circumvallate papilla, and these are small minor salivary glands which are associated with the groove and has ducts which open into the groove and produce serous secretions, and these secretions continuously wash off these taste buds. If you see, there are multiple taste buds. This is one taste bud, 2, 3, 4, 5. There are multiple taste buds present along the side of this groove, which help in the feeling of taste. So this is sulcus terminalis, and you can appreciate foliate papilla, which are present on the surface. This is the anterior surface, this is the dorsal surface, and the dorsal surface is divided into anterior 2/3 and posterior 1/3. Posterior 1/3 contains tonsils as well, and the anterior 2/3 has the different type of the papilla which are present. On the anterior 2/3, there are multiple filiform papilla. These filiform papilla are conical in shape, have a keratin cap on it, lined by stratified squamous epithelium, keratinized. These filiform papilla are most numerous, but they do not have taste buds with them. This is a unique feature of these filiform papilla which differentiate it from others, that it is heavily keratinized, it has a rough surface, and it does not have taste buds. In between these filiform papilla are scattered fungiform papilla, which has taste buds, but these are lined by stratified squamous epithelium, but less keratinized, less numerous in number, and on the surrounding they have taste buds. These are foliate papilla in the form of ridges, and foliate papilla in the form of ridges, which are less well developed in the older individuals, but these are well developed in the children. With the passage of time, they are lost, and these are rudimentary in the humans. But however, on the walls, they have a lot of taste buds. These are once again very important papilla which are present on the sulcus terminalis. This is sulcus terminalis, and you can see these papilla with the naked eye, and these are 8 to 12 in number and are present posteriorly. Each individual valate papilla has 1 to 3 mm diameter and circular in shape. If you see, this has a circular shape and a larger diameter, and on each side they have a groove, And alongside this groove, there are a large number of the taste buds present. These are taste buds, and a lot of salivary glands are present here. These salivary glands basically produce secretions which wash off these taste buds, and the lipase enzyme help to remove the lipids or layer of the lipids, so that taste of sense of taste is properly working on gestation. And each taste bud has three types of the cells: gustatory cells, supporting cells, and here is on the upper side there is a pore, and this pore has a gustatory microvilli. The taste buds are heavily innervated, and this is the third type, basal cells. Gustatory cells are innervated cells, and these are associated with the sense of taste. And these in between these are long, tall cells. These cells are basically supporting cells, and the function of these cells exactly is not known, except for that these support the gustatory cells. And here in the base are small basal cells present, and these basal cells are just like stem cells, and they proliferate and replace these gustatory cells in 7 to 10 days. So these gustatory cells are renewed after every 7 to 10 days, so the sense of taste is properly working. And these are long, tall cells and have a nucleus in between. So a taste bud has a different structure. It is properly innervated and has afferent nerve which innervate these gustatory cells. And three types of the cells are present: gustatory cells, supporting cells, and basal cells. Gustatory cells are directly associated with the sense of taste, and the supporting cells help in the support of these structure of these taste buds. And in the lower side there are basal cells which help in the removal or renewal of these gustatory cells after every 7 to 10 days. On the surface of these cells there are microvilli present, and these microvilli project on the surface through a pore, and this pore is called taste pore. And whenever we eat something or a food comes in contact with these microvilli, it sends impulses, and we receive the sense of taste. Taste buds are ovoid structures within stratified squamous epithelium on the tongue surface, which sample the general chemical composition of ingested materials. Approximately 250 taste buds are present on the lateral surface of each vellate papilla. Vellate papilla which are present, which are also called circumvallate papilla, which are present along the sulcus terminalis, with many others present on the fungiform. Fungiform papilla are present on the surface, and these are scattered. And foliate but not keratinized filiform papilla. Filiform papilla does not have any taste buds. As well, the taste buds are not restricted to papilla. They are also widely distributed or widely scattered elsewhere on the dorsal and lateral surface of the tongue, where they are also continuously flushed off by the minor salivary glands which are present in the mucosa. A taste bud has 50 to 100 cells. These cells are gustatory cells, or also called taste cells. Gustatory cells elongated 50% and turn over with a 7 to 10 day lifespan. And the second type of the stem cell in the taste bud are the supportive cells, which just help in the structure of the taste buds and help support in the gustatory cells. Basal cells or stem cells which are present towards the basal side, and these are helping in the renewal of gustatory cells. Base of each bud rests on the basal lamina and is entered by efferent sensory axons that form synapses with the gustatory cells. At the apical end of gustatory cell, microvilli project toward a 2 micron meter wide opening in the structure, which is called taste pore. Molecules or tustants dissolved in saliva contact the microvilli through the pore and interact with cell surface taste receptors. So here you can appreciate that the taste buds, they are supplied by the afferent nerve fibers. These are different afferent nerve fibers which are directly supplying the gustatory cells. Gustatory cells have the sense of taste, and these on the surface has microvilli, and these make microvilli open up on the surface from a pore, and the food comes in contact with these microvilli, and it passes signals through these afferent nerve fibers. Here on the microscopy, you can see this is the taste pore, and in between are microvilli present, and these are sensory or gustatory cells. And on the basal side are present smaller cells which act like stem cells, and these cells are responsible for replacement of these gustatory cells after every 7 to 10 days. This is a schematic diagram showing or just for understanding of the taste bud. This is stratified squamous epithelial cells, and this is the pore. And on the surface, you can see these are smaller microvilli, and this is another taste pore, and this is another taste pore, because along the sulcus terminalis, multiple taste buds are present. These cells which are pale staining are gustatory cells, and these gustatory cells are receiving sensory nerves, and these sensory nerves are responsible for transmission of the impulses. And in between, these are the supporting cells which are present in between these gustatory cells. And similarly, on the lower side, some smaller cells are present which are oval in shape and have a central nucleus. And these are the called basal cells because they are having the ability to proliferate and replace these gustatory cells whenever there is a requirement. This is just for your understanding how the taste buds function. Taste buds contain taste cells that communicate with the surface of the papilla through a taste pore and microvilli. Stimulation of the taste cells lead to stimulation of gustatory nerve fibers and receiving sweet, salt, bitter, and sour sensations. So these are the areas where different taste sensations are felt. On the side is the sour taste, on the tip is the sweet and salty, and bitter is on the along the sulcus terminalis. So sodium ions are responsible for salty taste, and different other compounds, amino acids, and everything, they generate different taste. Taste buds detect at least 5 broad categories of the taste. Sodium ions, for example, produce a salty taste. Hydrogen ions from acids cause a sour taste. Sugars and related compounds cause a sweet taste. Alkaloids and toxins, they cause a bitter taste. So these initially I showed you different areas where different tastes are felt. Salt and sour taste are produced by ion channels, and the other 3 categories are mediated by G protein coupled receptors. Receptor binding produces depolarization of gustatory cells, stimulating sensory nerve fiber that send information to the brain for processing. You already know this reflex very well. And what are von Ebner glands? Von Ebner glands have ducts of several small serous exocrine salivary glands which are typically present in the tongue and are called von Ebner glands. They empty into the deep moat-like groove surrounding each valate papilla. This provides a continuous flow of fluid over the taste buds that are abundant on the sides of these papilla, washing away food particles. I explained you already. Secretions from these and other minor salivary glands associated with taste bud contain lipase enzyme that prevent the formation of hydrophobic film on the surface of these structures and keep the taste sensation properly. So this was all about histology of the tongue. Any questions?